Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to From Corporate to Creative with your host, Kelly Gallia. Our show is designed to help you make the leap from corporate to creative, and if you're already in the creative business, we'll help inspire you to create success on your terms. Each episode, we'll focus on topics to help creative professionals like you to express your creativity, pursue your passions, and find freedom, flexibility, and fun in your own creative business. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show. This is your host, Kelly Gallia, and I'm really excited to have with us today Cindy Schulson. And we're going to be talking about the fastest path to ideal clients in a targeted list. And before we get started, let me tell you just a few words about Cindy. She is actually founder of attractyourniche.com, and she helps coaches, consultants, and other solo professionals to master their niche and attract their ideal clients. And I'm all about that, so I'm really thrilled she's here today. And in order to market yourself with ease, you really have to know who you want to attract, the solution or what solution you provide, and why people should work with you. So Cindy helps her clients put together these three pieces of the niche puzzle so they can attract their ideal clients, earn more, and market less, which is all really good stuff. Now, Cindy brings both coaching experience and over 20 years of business experience. She has an MBA and has worked in strategic communications for such companies as Coca-Cola and Visa International. And we're also going to tell you about Cindy's Niche Success Kit in just a little while, so you want to stay tuned for that. So I know we have a lot of information to share with you today, so sit back, take some notes, be prepared, and help me welcome Cindy to the show. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, thanks so much for having me here today.
We're really thrilled that you're here. So, okay, I know we have so much to go through, so why don't we start with telling people what a niche is in case they're unfamiliar with that phrase.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Kelly, because there's so many different definitions of it, and I think a lot of people think of a niche as like a subset of your target market, but it's, I'd like to take a kind of different approach and really think of your niche, as you said in the introduction, as your who and your what. So you have to know who your target market is and what is the solution that you provide for them. Because as we know, people don't buy services or products so much as they buy solutions, especially when it's services. So we have to get really clear on both those pieces of the puzzle.
Perfect. Great. So while we're getting clear on that, let's talk more about why is it so important to have a niche?
As I learned from too many times wasted in my own business, if you don't have a clear niche, you're totally spinning your wheels. And I'll be happy to share sort of the story of how I went through all of that. But basically, how can you possibly market yourself if you don't know who you're targeting, if you don't know what the solution is you provide, and if you don't know why they should work with you, which are those three pieces that I help people put together with the niche puzzle. If you're in that situation where you are marketing yourself without those things, then you already know that you're basically spinning your wheels, because you can't write any content to the right person because you're not being targeted. You're not being strategic in anything that you're doing. So that's the biggest reason. But there's other reasons too, Kelly. Like, in addition to knowing who you're talking to, you also have to know where they hang out, right? You need to be able to be targeted in terms of your reach. So you want to be marketing to where your target market hangs out. You also need to speak their language. When somebody comes to your website, they want to feel like you're talking directly to them. And if you're kind of cater to everybody with everything, then they're not going to feel like you're really the person that's there to help them. Because I think in this day and age now where there's so much competition, we really need to differentiate ourselves. And one of the ways that we do that is with our niche. The other ways we can talk more about, but they have to do with your message and other things we can talk about later. And then there's a couple of other reasons, and here's one of the big ones, and this is one of my big passions, is that if you want to earn leveraged income, if you want to do more than one-on-one type services, then you need to have a clear niche. Because if you're helping everybody with everything, you can't create the types of programs that are going to sell, right? Because you're just kind of all over the board. And of course, it's diluted. Yeah, exactly. And then, other things like getting invited to do interviews like this, attracting joint venture partners, attracting referral partners, because now people know who you help and what you help them with. So, the list goes on and on. But honestly, if you're marketing yourself without a niche, you already know the importance of it because you know that you're struggling.
Yeah, you're feeling that pain that you had talked about in the time wasting, wasted in your own business. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your story then, Cindy, and how it is that you came to find your own niche?
I'd be happy to. So you mentioned I did the corporate thing, right?
Oh,
had kids in my when a lot of people can relate to that. And then I had kids in my late 30s and kind of tried different things, and I finally started studying coaching and internet marketing at the same time, and I wasn't sure how all the pieces would fit together, but I just kind of moseyed along for about a year and a half trying to market myself. I was working my butt off. I was studying everything, doing it all, social media, article marketing, video marketing, blogging, everything they tell you to do, right? And and I had, after a year and a half, 71 people on my list. And I obviously wasn't exactly monetizing. And I finally said, okay, Cindy, take a step back, take a breath. What is going on? And I realized that I was missing a niche. I realized that I had no idea who I was targeting or why they should work with me or, what was the exact solution I was there to provide. So I started studying everything about niche, and what I discovered was a couple of things. Number one, everybody seemed to say, well, just pick a target market and figure out what they want. And that just didn't sit well with me because here's the thing, Kelly, like you, like me, like so many other people listening, we come to our businesses with a wealth of experience, right? I worked in strategic communications for years, so I should have known better, right, that I would bring this up. And, I think I'm really passionate. This is something that gets me so excited to help people take that experience and those skills that you've developed over the years and figure out how to leverage them in this new environment.
Yeah.
So I just really felt that. And also, you have to do something you're passionate about, because if you're not, then you're not going to have the passion to sustain your business.
Right.
And I've seen too many cases where people will, it looks good on paper, but their heart's not in it, and then they give up on it before sometimes they're even really out of the gate. So basically what I did was I said, all right, I know that finding your niche starts with you. And I put together this step-by-step system to help me find my niche. And lo and behold, I realized that with my background in strategic communications, this was a great niche for me, was helping others, not only find their niche, but then create those messages to attract their ideal clients. So I put together this free report, 10 steps to finding and attracting your ideal niche, and literally within weeks, I had more people opt in than I did in the entire year and a half.
Wow.
And I'm like,
that's
oh,
wonderful.
light bulb moment, and it's obviously it's gone on to like thousands now and whatnot, and it's really rewarding. But, sometimes I think that if we look back at some of our challenges, then that can often hold the key for what we're here to help other people with.
Absolutely. And I think that's why when we first spoke and talked about, how we might work together, that was something that I felt that passion from you, but I also felt such an affinity with that because a lot of what you're sharing now is exactly what I had gone through as well, and it's some of the things that I help my clients with, but in a different way. But it all does start with that passion and that ability, as you said, to sustain your business, because if you don't have that, it's really difficult to keep going. And I know it's such a challenge for people to tap into that. Really,
well, here's the thing that I've discovered is that why most solopreneurs go broke. And it's one of two things. and it's the opposite extreme. Sometimes they blindly follow their passions without really doing the work they need to do to make sure that this is a good opportunity for them. And other times they blindly follow what a guru tells them to do.
Oh, yeah.
And neither approach works. And so what I've discovered is that you need to learn from what others are doing, but tap into your unique abilities and passions to make it work for you.
Wonderful. That is great. So, Cindy, why do you think it is that so many people really struggle with this and struggle to find their niche? What's going on?
I think it has to do with fear a lot, Kelly, you know. And I hear it all the time when people come to me. They're like, oh, I don't want to get stuck in it, or I don't want to turn away business, or what if I choose the wrong niche? And, you know, there's a lot of fear around this. And what I've learned is that your niche is just something to give you focus. It doesn't restrict you. It doesn't limit you, you know, and there's lots of ways to grow within your niche. You can take the solution that you provide and you can bring it to other target markets. So as an example, one of my clients, she helps people really tap into their strengths and learn how to leverage them. And so she's working with nonprofits, with boards, but she's also passionate about helping entrepreneurs. So you can take the same solution and bring it to other target markets. Or you can do what I've done, which is to work with the same target market, but follow them along their journey. And once you've helped them with one challenge, what's the next challenge that they face that you can help them with? So your niche is going to evolve and grow just as your business does. So, you know, I think people are so afraid of that being boxed in. And then, of course, Kelly, there's that confusion like you and I both face because we don't know how to find your niche. And so that's why I created this step-by-step system, because I think when you take something so intangible and you can make it more concrete, it really helps people.
Excellent. Yeah, and I mean, just to share with you, too, with my personal journey, it's just funny, you know, evolving from leaving corporate, going into interior design, discovering I loved the business of interior design and working with creatives. So I simultaneously expanded my niche to be not just interior designers, but creative professionals and creative entrepreneurs. And then I started thinking a lot more about conversations I'd had throughout my corporate experience with friends and family, and really hearing people's passion and things that they were excited about that they weren't doing, and encouraging them to start pursuing those things and make the leap. And that's how From Corporate to Creative all came about, because it was like I love helping creative professionals, and if they're stuck in corporate and wanting to get out, I'd love to share the benefit of my experiences, both good and bad, so that they can more easily transition. And then for those who I was drawing or attracting as my clients on the creative business side, they mostly turn out to have corporate background. Big shocker there, right?
Yeah. Well, no, and it's a great example of how your niche is going to evolve. And, you know, so I just want people to get over the fear. And, you know, sometimes you do need to work with a coach to help you guide you through the system and help you be confident that you're making a good choice and understand sort of the process for how to choose a niche, so that you're not just blindly following your passions, but that you're doing, you know, some of the work that it does take. And I will admit there is some work involved in choosing a niche, and I'm sorry, but there is if you want to, you know, be smart about it. So I think that once you have a little bit of guidance, once you understand sort of what's involved, then it's much less scary. And once you realize that, you know what, if somebody comes to you and they don't fit within that ideal client criteria, but you really want to work with them, nobody's telling you can't. It's your business, right? You know?
Yes, you don't have a boss telling you can't do that. You're your own boss. You can do it.
Exactly. And that, I mean, you know, and all of your listeners know, in the corporate world, we're so restricted by things. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about being a business owner is we get to decide who we work with and what kind of work we do and, you know, what hours we work and all of that stuff. And so that's one of the other reasons I'm so passionate about this whole niche thing is that I really want people to build a business that they love and work with people that they love to work with.
Yeah.
Because you just don't have that freedom in the corporate world.
Yeah, you don't have that freedom, and I think too for people who are just starting out or have been in business for a short amount of time, you know, this is something you can learn the hard way, and we're certainly not here recommending you do it that way. I mean, I just think about some of the nightmare clients that I'd had in the past before I was in coaching, because this was a lesson that I learned while I had the design firm. And, you know, we would take clients that we knew were not the right fit, and those were always the worst clients. You know, your instinct told you no, and but when you don't have that clarity around your niche, then it's very difficult to turn them down and feel confident in why you're doing what you're doing.
That's really well said. But here's the other thing too, right? Sometimes they're the ideal client on paper, but you know they might not be able to invest in coaching, or they might prefer to do things by themselves, or maybe your personalities just don't mesh the right way. Mm-hmm. And when you have a clear niche and you understand how to package your passion and create programs that are more leveraged in terms of your time, you can do that. And that's one of the things that I have found most liberating about what I do now is that I've created different ways to package my solution. I can help way more people and at different price points and create multiple streams of income. So as I mentioned earlier, that's another really important benefit of having a clear niche.
Yes, absolutely, because I think, you know, a lot of the people that I tend to attract, we have this desire to provide a service and to play a much bigger role in the world. So some of us aren't quite sure what that is yet, but we know we're destined for great things, right? And we know we want to help as many people as possible. And so what Cindy just shared with you is just it's that way to do that. And really through that leveraged income sources, really doing it that way.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say it's real simple. You know, we tend to make things too complicated for ourselves, but basically really what I help people do is I help them focus, share, and package their passion. That's all that it is. So don't be afraid of it. It's a good thing.
That's perfect. Now, I know we mentioned your report earlier, so I want to make sure that we give everyone a chance, or we tell them again at the end of the show here, but let's tell them now how they can go over and get that free report. Where do we want them to go?
Sure, absolutely. They can go to attractyourniche.com. Attractyourniche.com, and niche is just N-I-C-H-E. Excuse me, Kelly. And they can get, there's actually a report and there's a training video that goes with it as well. So they can get it there, and they can find me on Facebook at Attract Your Niche as well.
Okay, great. All right, so go to attractyourniche.com and go grab those valuable resources. Okay, so let's give our audience some tips then on what is the best way to really find their niche. Okay,
so remember when we were talking earlier and I was saying that everybody says choose a target market and figure out what they want. And rather, I would think that it's more important that you start by looking within yourself, because you want to leverage your strengths, your experiences, your skills, your passions, your interests. So that's what I do with my clients, is I have them start by looking within themselves to understand what they're here to help people with. And once you become, and this is a synergistic process, Kelly. It's not like a straight linear kind of thing, okay?
Right.
So we start with that, and then we have to match it with the right target market. So who's looking for your solution? Who's actively seeking your solution, right? And remember, it's much easier. You know, you might know that somebody needs something, but if they don't really want it, if they're not actively looking for it, then you're just making things more difficult for yourself.
Right.
So it has to be people who are actively looking for it, who are willing and able to pay for it, And that's another challenge. Sometimes we have these big hearts and we want to help people, but, you need to make sure they can pay for your solutions. And, of course, you can package them in different ways at different price points, but if you really want to create a viable business, you need to be able to have both low and higher price points. And you also need to make sure that you can actually reach these people through clear communication channels, both offline and online. And I think that's one of the challenges, again, that people face, because if you choose something that's like too broad or too intangible, then you really don't know where they congregate. So there's certain criteria that we go through to make sure that it's a viable niche. And then the third part that we look at is the competition. And here's something else I've discovered, Kelly, is that sometimes people will look and say, oh, there's somebody else already doing that. I can't do it. They've already beat me to it. But, the truth is, if there's no competition, and in fact, if there's nobody already successfully serving your niche, then it's really likely it's not a good one, because people have likely tried and failed. So you need to make sure that there is competition, and you need to understand what they're doing and differentiate yourself, because the truth of the matter is, Kelly, this sounds kind of strange, but we're all basically doing the same thing. Within your niche, there's not that much difference. Yes, there might be something different in your approach, but really what's going to differentiate you is your message. It's where you're coming from. It's what you stand for. And it's how you deliver your message. It's your personality, but it's also the stand that you take in your business. And so that's something I'm really passionate about helping people with, is creating not just the marketing message, that elevator speech type thing, but also the core message that represents what you stand for.
Yes, absolutely. And, I really encourage everyone listening in, take Cindy up on these resources. She has wonderful programs that you can work with her on, and this is something that you want to get clear on as soon as possible, because it's going to help you bypass a lot of the frustration that you can have when you first start out in business. I mean, this is something that took me a really long time to get. I sort of knew it while I was in corporate, but had experiences and thought, no, it can't be that easy. But it is. It comes back to what you stand for, and what I stand for is life is too short to spend doing things you don't enjoy, whether that's in your career or your personal life. So I've lived my whole life around that premise. And it's so important, Kelly, because, it breaks my heart. You've gone to events, right? We've all gone to these conferences and events. And if you look at the people who stand up at the microphone to ask their questions during the, the Q&A time, right. I'm not joking, 80% of those people are stuck because they don't have a niche. Yes.
I hear the questions. I hear where they're stuck. And the other thing that I see when people come to me and they're like, I invested tens of thousands of dollars in all these programs, and those programs are great, but you can't implement them if you don't have a clear niche.
Yeah.
And it just breaks my heart. So I just want people to get good results, and get over this confusion.
Yeah, and the sooner the better, definitely. So we talked about differentiating yourself through your message, and so I wanted to talk with you a bit more about what we can do once we have a niche. What are the next steps so that we start attracting those ideal clients? What do we need to do?
That's a great question. So we talked about message, right? And I like to help my clients create that marketing message, which is, who you help, what you help them with, why they should work with you. And then the core message is what you stand for. So that's the next place we go. Then we need to also start building a list, a targeted list. And so we actually need to create a valuable giveaway that is going to be valuable for your ideal client. So we start creating that giveaway so you can actually build a targeted list. Because, you can learn all the list building techniques you want. You can build a beautiful website. You can write tons of articles. But if people come to your website and there's not a call to action that really speaks to them, then you've wasted all your effort. So it's really, really important that you have that valuable giveaway. And then the third thing that I help people with is create your standout signature system. And some people might know the term signature system, Kelly, but I'll quickly explain what it is for those who don't. But it's basically the process that you take your clients through. So if somebody comes to you, how do you get them to their desired results from A to Z? What are the steps you take them through? But here's the thing. I have found that people, when they help you with signature system, it tends to be more process-driven. And the process is important, but people don't just buy what's in your head, they buy what's in your heart. Yeah. They want to know what you stand for, what you're all about. So what I do with my clients is we actually use that core message as the starting point for creating your signature system. Because if you think about your core message, it's what you stand for, right? So if you think about what you're going to do with your clients, you want to make sure you deliver on what you stand for.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's just, to me, it's just, we talked about differentiating yourself, right? And we talked about the fact that everybody kind of does the same thing. So if all that you're doing is kind of walking them through the process, you're losing the most powerful thing you have, which is your voice.
Okay.
So that's what I help my clients with.
Yeah.
You know, and that gets back to those three things: focus, which is finding your niche; share, which is creating your message; and package, which is creating that signature system and then figuring out how to package that in different ways to create multiple streams of income.
I have another question I think probably is on the minds of some people right now. What if I'm still in corporate, I haven't made the leap yet, I don't have clients, I don't know the process I would take them through? What tips do we have for them?
Well, first they better call me or at least get my free report. I mean, that's the starting point. I mean, really, you know, like I spent a year and a half spinning my wheels, and I have two children. You know, they were quite young at the time. One of them was still in preschool. And, you know, I wanted to do this so I could be home with my kids. So if you're still working, your time is even more limited than mine was. And I don't want to see you spin your wheels. I just don't. And I want to shorten the curve for you. So figure out how to do this. You know, I would hate to say, well, just figure out what you're passionate about and go for it, because we already said that doesn't work. So get the help you need so that you don't waste your time, because as Kelly, you said, your time is too precious.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that is a great tip for those who are still in corporate and those who have already made the leap. You have to value your time and get help from the experts where you know you're struggling. If this has been an area of struggle for you and you're not seeing the results that you want in your business, let's get busy. Go over to attractyourniche.com and get Cindy's Niche Success Kit and get going on this, because the sooner you do, the sooner you can start reaching and focusing and sharing your message with those ideal clients and serving them.
Right, and we should point out that is a free report, Kelly, just so people are really clear. Yeah.
Yes, we're not selling you anything. Go on over and grab your free resources.
Yeah.
Very good. So are there any other tips, Cindy, that you would share with somebody who is still in corporate, who wants to make the leap? Just anything that you want to share based on your own personal journey and your own from corporate to creative mission and journey?
Oh, my gosh, that's a great question. You know, I guess I feel like we go through life, you know, and we don't necessarily think about the choices that we're making sometimes. I know I've just taken opportunities here and there and done different positions. I mean, I've had an amazing experience. I worked in Vietnam and in Singapore, and I had a great career, and I don't regret it at all. But I think when you're building your own business, it can be the most empowering thing in the world, and it can also be the scariest thing in the world. And so the empowering part is doing what you love and working with the people that you most want to work with and making a difference for people. And that is incredibly empowering. And the scary part is that you can feel like you're in it all by yourself. So get support, not just from a coach. I think I always have a coach. I mean, I've had one since the beginning, and it's made an incredible difference. But also, you know, figure out where you're stuck invest in either the coaching or the programs you need to help you over that particular hump. Don't just go after bright, shiny objects and, buy this because it sounds good, because it's the magic bullet. It's not. Figure out where you're stuck and get the help you need. And then create a support team of people. I have a mastermind group I'm a part of, and, I have a private Facebook. I didn't tell people about. I have a program called TALI, which is Targeted Action Leveraged Income, and it's a very, very low-priced membership program where we have training each month, and we have a live Q&A call, and we have a private Facebook group. And I just find that people love having that support of going through this process with other people just like them. So find ways to get support to help you through this so that it doesn't take so long and it's not so scary, and you can do what you really love to do.
Very well said. Thank you, Cindy. I've really enjoyed this time together. And again, I encourage all of our listeners to go over to Cindy's site, attractyourniche.com, grab that Niche Success Kit, and get started right away. Thanks again, Cindy. It has been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it.